In his day, General Patton proved the need for demand reduction. Even though the Normandy invasion was the beginning of the end for the Third Reich, it would have been hard to convince any Allied strategist prior to August of 1944. With insufficient ports available, Normandy was a quagmire of supplies, languishing in depots as troops stalled across the French landscape. Patton had brilliantly maneuvered his Third Army around and behind enemy positions in a sprint towards the German border. So fast, he outran his supply lines. The famous Red Ball Express, a continuous caravan of trucks rushing fuel to Patton's tanks, became his lifeline until the Express began consuming more fuel than it delivered. He had thrown the German army into confusion and retreat, but he also paid the price for attempting to seize the opportunity at any cost. Stalled just days from the manufacturing center of Saar, Patton had to wait for supplies. It was only then that he began a series of fortunate innovations to not only resupply himself, but also conduct host nation support for maintenance and repair efforts of his vehicles. Having cooperation from local French factories, they produced tires, engines, and engine coolant there at the point of demand. He then empowered his quartermasters to ration fuel and supplies while creating a reserve should it become needed in the future. And taking over operations of the French railroads provided him an alternative to the Red Ball Express. However, while his efforts were applauded, it took time, which allowed the German army to reorganize. Though always outnumbered, they slowed Patton's November assault from a sprint to a slog, and the casualty rates attested to the cost of the delay. Army doctrine would change in drastic ways because of the successes and the casualties of Patton's campaign. But one could fairly ask about our present efforts. Has anything really changed? Our current unified land operations still require a responsive supply chain to keep our troops advancing with speed, and with advantages and superiority in many different levels of warfare. We have achieved a more than satisfactory level of efficiency. But a ready, globally responsive army that is able to support strategic priorities and win the fast-paced battles of the 21st century requires something more. The warfighter in the future must be free from mission command and sustainment constraints in order to successfully operate in small, dispersed, agile, and nimble units, semi-independently, for up to 7 days. To achieve this and all our strategic goals, in a constantly changing, unpredictable, asymmetrical or symmetrical battlefield, means we can no longer afford to operate constrained. To meet future conflicts, the Army will execute multi-domain battle to ensure joint force freedom of action and deny the enemy the ability to operate freely across all domains. Brigade combat teams must have the capability to deploy and operate semi-independently. This allows them to seize, retain, and exploit the initiative by attacking from multiple locations, directions, and domains, to present dilemmas to the enemy throughout the depth of the battlefield. And like Patton, the velocity of those efforts is key. Once forces stop, the enemy has time to counter or find a weakness. In future battlefields, any advantage for the enemy in any of the domains is one advantage too many, and they will find them. That makes the current Army challenge an examination of procedures, determining how to reduce a unit's operational requirement for services or commodities which they cannot independently produce or acquire. Army studies predict that in order to achieve desired goals in the decades ahead, The Army must realize a 30% improvement in the use and duration of water, fuel, and ammunition if teams want to stay operational 7 days without resupply. Whatever solutions come from achieving this goal, they will have a threefold impact on demand reduction efforts. They must increase operational reach, they must reduce mission risk, and they must improve readiness. 30% may be a far-term objective, but efforts have to begin now in our near and mid-term objectives in order to achieve it. This will allow the Army to adopt materiel at the rate of innovation, but it must also coincide with necessary changes and adaptations to all .mil PFP approaches. Consequently, the time to change our culture and begin these initiatives is now. Success in our objectives has 5 critical elements. Improve effectiveness and efficiency. Meet demand at the point of need. Employ robotics and autonomous systems. Improve situational awareness. And establish cultural change. Whether we reduce vehicle weight, increase strength-to-weight ratios for lethality, make better use of in-theater resources for computing, create auxiliary power units for ground forces, use biodegradable packaging to reduce cargo space, find alternatives to bottled and bulk water supplies, create unmanned aerial resupply systems, or use predictive analysis through artificial intelligence. We must find the answers. Demand reduction strategy challenges existing paradigms, but it is a challenge we must face to secure for our forces overmatch against determined enemies and adversaries. The Army will provide leader development education for both our professional military and the civilian force to serve as a catalyst for culture change and to support developing the necessary solution approaches. Reducing demand is a total Army challenge and vital to the support of multi-domain battle. And we must meet it.
All right, good afternoon everyone. Come up just a little bit. Up just a little bit, there you go. I'll try not to yell. Although my son will tell you I don't yell, I just speak in a tone of voice that ensures that I won't be misunderstood, misinterpreted, or ignored. So we're just gonna get going. I'm Dave Komar, I'm the Director of the Capability Development Director at the Army Capabilities Integration Center in Fort Eustis. And I'm here today to talk to you about demand reduction, but more importantly, how demand reduction is going to enable multi-domain battle. So if you watch the video, you kind of got an understanding of what we mean by demand reduction. In fact, a lot of the points on the slide you're going to see here really just reinforce what you saw in the video if you're able to be here for the entire video. Last October at the fall AUSA meeting, we did a couple things. One is we released Field Manual 3-0, which really brought back the emphasis on the Army's ability to conduct large-scale ground combat operations. This was really critical, based on the fact we've been conducting COIN and counterinsurgency operations for 16 plus years at that time. But the second thing we did that was really noteworthy was that we introduced the tenets of multi-domain battle and looked at what is the construct of that and what does it really mean. So that's what I'm going to try to focus on here this afternoon for just a few moments. One of the things with multi-domain battle is it requires us to have resilient formations and units capable of conducting semi-independent operations for up to 7 days. Well, if you look at what we've got currently, particularly in our heavier formations, Armor Brigade combat teams, combat aviation brigades, fires brigades, et cetera, that's a significant challenge for us right now. This demand reduction is a critical component of our national defense strategy line of effort to modernize key capabilities, and we're doing so by fielding resilient and agile logistics. One of the things that we did in Arctic, with really not just in Arctic, but with the help of a large team of folks, is we developed this white paper, Demand Reduction, Setting the Conditions for Multi-Domain Battle. If you don't have a copy at your seat, or you'd like another copy, we'll have stacks as you leave on the back table here. It's also available on the Arctic website. Next slide. Okay, future armed conflict is going to require the Army to conduct precision, manned, unmanned, autonomous, air, surface, and even subterranean delivery of supplies, services, and equipment. Combination of logistics demand reduction and novel distribution.
We hope you'll join us in the South and East exhibit halls for a refreshment break sponsored by AUSA. Please make your way over to the South and East exhibit halls for a refreshment break sponsored by AUSA.
Which now I'll see.
If you haven't had a chance, please make sure to make your way to the outdoor exhibits. We have a number of companies.
All right, I'll keep going. Now I'll see who's interested in hearing this, or this was just sort of a waypoint to get to the refreshments. But as you see that, the objective of demand reduction, again, as I said, is to enable multi-domain battle concept by identifying, developing required capabilities necessary for Army units to operate semi-independently. We've got to do both. This is not just a matter of using energy conservation or getting better use of our supplies. That's part of it. But the other piece is we've got to improve our ability to provide those supplies, those services, and the support on the battlefield. Here, again, you may have seen on the video, here are the 5 imperatives, and we're going to discuss each of these in a little more detail in just a couple moments. Next slide. As I said, this is not just hey, how do we get better fuel mileage, et cetera. The intent of this white paper is to promote thought and discussion on what are the variety of means across all the DOTML PF domains that are going to be able to help us achieve and realize that notion of being able to conduct semi-independent operations for 7 days. So one of the things, just as an example, we'll use an Armored Brigade combat team. That's roughly 4,300 soldiers, I think about 46,000 pieces of equipment, about 2,000 of which are fuel burning. So, not just within the Armored Brigade combat teams, but really across the Army, some of our main drivers of demand are fuel, water, and ammunition. So, one of the questions when we got started on this, and they said, well, we need to look at demand reduction. How do we do that? So, one of the things is, well, what's demand? It's kind of, it may seem sort of self-evident until you try to write down a definition. You try to go research in either a joint publication or an Army publication. Hey, what's the doctrinal definition? We didn't find any. So with a group of folks, we've come up with this as our working definition. The operational requirement for services, commodities beyond a unit's ability to acquire or produce them themselves. Excuse me. To extend operational reach or prolong endurance. And again, as we continue to develop this, that's the point of the white paper. This definition we can modify and put a finer point on as we go along. It was mentioned in the video, but we did some analysis based on our operational mode summary and mission profile of several units, and we think that in order to truly facilitate and enable multi-domain battle, we need to cut our demand by about 30%. That seems like a lot, but again, what we've got to look at is all the different manners in which we can achieve that. Next slide. You know, as I mentioned earlier, there's 5 components of the solution. 4 of them are on this chart, and the one, and I'm not very clever in helping people develop these charts, but it really probably sits around all of those, and that's a change of culture. Okay, more is always better. Further forward is always better. Okay, so we've got to take a look at in what cases is that in fact true, and we've got to be pragmatic as we address those. So we're looking at, again, improving effectiveness and efficiency. Obviously, if our equipment has greater reliability, then we're not going to need as many repair parts. We're not going to have to push our maintenance capability as far forward or as often. Employing robotics and autonomous systems. So are there some autonomous or robotic distribution systems that we can use? And that can be at any level. You know, that could be resupplying ammunition to a rifle platoon or an infantry squad under fire. It could be from, perhaps, say, in a brigade combat team. It could be from the brigade support battalion forward to a forward support company within that organization, and in meeting demand at the point of need. So where are there opportunities for additive manufacturing, et cetera, so that, you know, we can, as closely as possible, whether it's, you know, water from air, et cetera. I don't know if anyone had the opportunity to see the Innovators Corner yesterday, to see the ARL discussion on hydrogen production. There's quite a breakthrough that they made in the ability, in very low weight, in very stable, very non-corrosive, non-hazardous material, by literally adding water or anything that's based in water, to include coffee and other fluids, to produce hydrogen very quickly, very quickly. And improving situational understanding. You know, if we knew that a particular vehicle or set of vehicles or a company or whatever, you know, needed repair parts ahead of time, whether it be through, you know, onboard diagnostics or some other predictive manner, well, if we know, hey, with sometime in the next 72 hours or whatever, they're going to need that, then that's going to allow us to plan over greater windows of time, so that instead of responding to something that breaks afterwards, we're able, as part of our normal sustainment operations, in order to push that capability forward. Next slide. So what can we do now, and what can we do in the future? What we've listed on this chart are some of the things. If you look on the right-hand side, these are really things that are in the near and mid-term, and then we're looking at some of these things in the longer term. And you look on the side, and you'll say, oh, we could do that now. You know, absolutely, some of those we can, but we've got to be able to, again, it's got to be a optimal PFP solution. So we've got to figure out, if we were to use some of these capabilities, what would that mean to the formations? What would that mean to organizations? So we've got to be able to take a look at, from that perspective, and holistically look at capabilities, so that if we say we have a technological breakthrough in a certain area, what does that mean? Do we have to change how we're organized? Do we have to change our doctrine and how we operate? So that's really what we're looking at on that side. But we also got to take credit for some of the things we've already done in the POM. You know, for instance, the improved turbine engine program, the ITEP program. You know, that's really has a twofold benefit. One, it increases our range, increases the power, so we could fly heavier loads at high hot conditions. as well as significantly reduce fuel consumption. So that's, that's something we've done. Some of the things with our Abrams program, the Bradley program, and some of them are smaller changes or incremental right now. But again, we've got to look at things that we're producing now, things that we're going to produce in the future, say next generation combat vehicles. So are there some things we can look at now, and we may not have the technology to implement it now, but working with our industry partners, and I've had this discussion with several organizations out here this week, is we can have planned growth, planned modernization over time, and it's cheaper, and you can do, the integration is much quicker and easier if you've already planned to do that ahead of time. So those are some things that we've got to look at. Now, one of the other things I want to highlight here, and I've talked to many of our industry partners, and this is something that we've absolutely have to have a tremendous working relationship and build a team with both the government as well as our industry partners, is there's a lot of these things that we could do right now, and implement to reduce demand. But the question is how much is it going to cost, and can we afford it? Well, there's a lot to that. So you're going to look at, okay, what's the cost-benefit analysis in order to do that? The cost is usually fairly easy to get to. We kind of have an idea, again, working as a team, an idea of what that's going to be. But what we don't do a good job on, and what we need to really team up with industry on, is to be able to better inform our senior leader decisions on what the benefits are. And not just, hey, we're gonna use 10% less fuel, and somebody figures out, okay, carry the 7, okay, that's gonna save us X number of dollars per year in op-tempo costs. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, one, operationally, what does that mean as far as driving down risk, allowing formations greater operational reach, having fewer resupply operations and sustainment operations having to be out on the road, and that's obviously increases risk to the force no matter what kind of operating environment you're in. But also, hey, if we use less fuel, then what are the downstream effects of that? Do I need fewer tankers? If I've got more reliable equipment, do I need to carry less ASL and PLL on my sustainment vehicles? And then, if that's the case, and again, we've got to lay this out for the leadership, because again, this is part of the benefit that heretofore we really haven't captured very well. And if that's the case, is there force structure that's being utilized for that currently that could then be freed up to provide force structure for other critical Army shortfalls, whether it be maneuver SHORAD or multi-domain task force, et cetera. Just take your pick, SFABs, take your pick. But that's really what we've got to look at, and that's the hard work, and that's where we really need to team up with both on the government side, our government laboratories, as well as with industry. Because I think what we have been doing is not providing our leadership with as comprehensive and as complete information as we could, and we need to. So that's something that, again, that we're going to take on, and we really appreciate everybody's participation in that. And I know I've talked too long. Next slide. Just want to leave you with this Chief of Staff of the Army quote, and I'm not going to read that to you. In fact, you probably saw it at the end of the video. But what I want to highlight is that in the future operational environment against near-peer adversaries, we have to assume, again, as we've discussed in multi-domain battle, is that we're going to be contested in all environments and in all domains, certainly in the land domain, in that we've got to be able to operate in smaller, more dispersed units away from well-established bases, supply facilities, for fuel, water, power, et cetera. we're going to be operating probably for the most part in greater distances between units with over terrain that we may not necessarily control. And again, what I'd ask is that you strongly consider and participate in the dialogue and in the professional discourse here of how do we take demand reduction and help have that inform our capability development into the future, as well as some opportunities that may exist today. So, you know, we've got to develop new and innovative science and technology, certainly. You know, and we've got to figure out how do we best integrate this. And I talked at length about how do we articulate and describe all of the benefits associated with demand reduction. And it's really got to permeate, you know, our thinking about capability development, regardless of adversary and regardless of the type of environment that we're in. So again, hey, I appreciate your time and your interest, and I've got a few minutes probably to answer any questions. Sure.
Question about the water.
Okay.
Program. Do you remember a program that was called Camel?
I'm not all that familiar with it,
Well,
but
it never did. I don't think it ever happened, right? It was to deal with water and chilling of water and heating with water and purifying water, and it was a specialized trailer. I just wonder, as far as water goes, if you're still thinking along those same lines.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, we're looking at, you know, for instance, our expeditionary water packaging system. You know, how do we get potable water in small containers to be able to more easily distribute? We're also looking at our bulk water capabilities. You know, in fact, we're trying to figure out, okay, what's the most effective and efficient way to handle that water? You know, it's always more efficient to put them in larger, you know, water farms, but it's not nearly as effective, particularly if you're going to have to be moving. It puts you at risk, et cetera. So, but that's something we're definitely.
Bottled water still works, huh?
Well, yeah.
Sir, thanks for your comments. I saw the line in there about wanting to change culture. Can you give me some sense of what in our culture you guys are thinking you might want to try to change? Not necessarily how. If you have thoughts about how, that's fine too.
Well, I think one of the things that we've got to change is we've got to make sure that there's always a balance when we're looking at risk. Again, people, you know, what's better than having 2 of something? Well, having 3 of something. But you know, this gets at the operational risk perspective of, well, if I've got 3 of something instead of 2 of something, it's harder to avoid enemy detection. It takes me more resources to move on the battlefield. So again, the closer we can to the point of need, which was one of our elements to our solution, you know, the better off we're going to be. But you know, understanding that you know, that's something that commanders are always going to have to weigh. So if we can be more effective of providing those services, those supplies, et cetera, further forward, then it can lighten their load. Sir.
Hey, sir, big challenge. How are you engaging industry? Is there, you know, is CASCOM your point man? I mean, where's industry going to go with ideas for these big challenges?
Yeah, no, great question. Well, one of the ways we're engaging industry is here today, and this was sort of a kickoff for the public release of the demand reduction strategy. But yeah, CASCOM is certainly a lead. But here's what I want to highlight to everyone, though. This is not just a sustainment or a logistics issue, because again, that's sort of on the pushing stuff on the supply side, but we've really also got to get at the demand side. So how do we get better fuel economy? How do we get, you know, certainly effectiveness of ammunition is paramount to this. You know, if I don't have to carry as many rounds, because each of them are more effective, that's going to reduce that. If I can better train and provide medical support further forward, then that's going to reduce the number of casualties that I'm going to have to, bring back to, a level 2, level 3 medical facility. So so the answer is that certainly CASCOM from that side is addressing it, but that's something that we at ARCIC, particularly within CDD, are working with all the centers of excellence on. Okay. If there are no other questions, again, I really appreciate everyone's interest and attendance. So thank you very much. And again, if you don't have a copy and you'd like a copy, again, we've got hard copies available, as well as you can go to the ARCIC website. It's been posted there. All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.